Hola muchachos, ¿qué tal? Buenos días. Aquí tienen el horario para hoy, martes, el 16 de mayo. No homework due for today. No homework for next class. Continuing not to have any homework at all for the remainder of the academic year. Our daily objectives to review key terms and expressions associated with careers and professions, to recognize the future tense conjugations for both regular and irregular verbs in the future, and to apply those to your own future goals and aspirations. Your warm-up question for today, a typical interview question. You know, when you sit down for a job interview, they ask you, ¿Qué vas a hacer en 5 años? What are you going to do in 5 years? Or where do you see yourself in 5 years, right? So we'll tackle that warm-up question together, utilizing the grammar for the future on pages 460 and 462. You'll do an aptitude test as part of your career resume in the target language, review speaking questions for the final exam, and then assign your Mi Autorretrato activity, which will be due I think next week. I think I'll give you guys until next week, plenty of time to work on that. And then in class time to review the study guide and practice for speed dating. Speed dating, the practice for the speaking questions, is what we'll do later on this week, next time we see each other. All right, so let's look at the warm-up utilizing your future tense conjugations that we went over together on pages 460 and 462. A reminder that all AR, ER, and IR endings share the same conjugations in the past. And then also you do not need to remove the AR, ER, or IR ending from the infinitive. That stays as you create your conjugations in the future. So, ¿Qué vas a hacer en 5 años? What are you going to do in 5 years? Refer to last week's notes. Ponder your future goals and aspirations for after you graduate high school and write 3 sentences in the future to describe your post-graduation aspirations. For example, viajar is to travel. Yo viajaré in the yo form. Yo viajaré a Europa. I will travel to Europe. Yo estudiaré. Yo estudiaré por intercambio en España. I will study abroad. I will study by exchange in Spain. Yo trabajaré. Yo trabajaré para una compañía internacional. I will work for a multinational corporation or company. All right. So after we do that, we'll do a quick review of where we've been for the past couple classes, starting Chapter 9A or reviewing Chapter 9A, which is you guys listening and reading about the future plans with the future plans of others, talking and writing about your own postgraduate goals and exchanging that information with one another. We went over the vocabulary for this chapter, the different professions that you guys might have to consider. Those are on pages 452 and then continued on page 453. We looked at the different descriptions for these professions and how the professions themselves match the descriptions well. Key aspects to them. And then last class, we went over the actual grammar for the future tense. We talked about how you already know a couple ways to talk about the future. You can use the present tense, right? O, as, a, amos, an. Use the present tense with a time marker referring to the future, or use the simple future, which consists of the verb ir, the verb to go, voy, vas, va, vamos, van, then the preposition a, and then whatever it is you're going to do, that's the verb that's left in the infinitive. Talked about how to form the future tense of regular AR, ER, and IR verbs. They use the same set of endings as you can see here on page 460. and then you just add them to the infinitive you're using. Irregular verbs share the same endings as regular verbs, but what makes them irregular is their stem. And that's what we practiced last class. Watched a video practice and did exercises 14 and 16. You can take a look at the video from last class that I went over the beginning of each of these. Now what we're going to do is take a look at that career resume in Espanol. I'll walk you through that activity. You're not going to turn this in for credit, but you will do it to engage in utilizing the vocabulary. It's kind of a summary of a little bit of everything that we've looked at this year. And it'll be great practice for the Mi Autorretrato activity, which I'll assign to you guys here later today. So page 468 has this aptitude test, your career resume or academic resume. So the first thing you're going to do in your notebooks is where you're going to knock this out. You're going to put these subheadings here. Nombre is your name. Dirección is your address. You could just put city and state. You don't need to put your whole address if you don't want to. Clases y notas are your classes and grades. So we don't need to do all your classes. Maybe pick three classes that stick out to you from your freshman year, sophomore year, junior year, and senior year. If you've not completed all of these grades yet, obviously many of you haven't, many of you are sophomores, then put the classes that you anticipate on taking and the grades that you anticipate getting in those. So 9th grade, 10th grade, 11th grade, 12th grade, give me 3 classes in Espanol. You know how to do that. Go to page 14, you got all your classes there. You know, we don't need to be specific. You can keep it general if you'd like. You know, the umbrella subjects that they fall under. And then your grade, you know, A, B, C, D, F. The grading scale that we use here in the United States. Or here at Liberty at least. Okay? 3 classes for each of those grade levels. You can put in parentheses the grade you got, are getting, or will get, depending upon what grade you're in now. Intereses extracurriculares are your extracurricular interests. Include here any clubs that you're part of, deportes, clubes, deportes, cosas que te gustan hacer en tus ratos libres, so your free time activities. Give me 3, ideally. Things that you like to do in your free time or that you're a part of in terms of organizations or groups in the target language. Universidades que me interesan. What are 3 trade schools? Now this is about universities, so ideally put in universities, but you can put colleges, trade schools, places of higher education that you're thinking about after you graduate. Alright, so that's on page 468. 469 begins the aptitude tests. Una prueba de aptitud puede ayudarte a encontrar la mejor profesión para ti. Lo primero que debes hacer es determinar tu personalidad. Lee las siguientes descripciones. ¿Cuál te describe? So, an aptitude test, una prueba de aptitud, can help you find the best profession for you. The first thing that you must do is determine your own personality. Read the following descriptions and which best describes you. So you're going to put these headings here: personalidad, te gusta, prefieres, evitas, and profesiones. And underneath each of those headings, you're going to write the answer. Which of the following descriptions best describes you? So under the heading for personality, personalidad, which one of these adjectives best describes you? Realista, investigadora, artística, sociable, emprendedora, or analítica. A lot of these are cognates, right? Are you a realist, an investigator? Are you artistic, more socially oriented, analytical, or emprendedora is entrepreneurial? Yeah, enterprising. So someone, did you have that lemonade stand when you were a kid? Are you flipping shoes now in high school? Or selling snacks at lunch or something like that, right? That would be enterprising or entrepreneurial. So pick the letter, pick the adjective, and write that answer underneath the heading personalidad. And again, you're doing this in your notes, right underneath that career resume or academic resume that you already created. Next category, te gusta. Which of these activities do you most associate with? ¿Te gusta trabajar con animales, máquinas o herramientas? ¿Estudiar y resolver problemas de ciencias o de matemáticas? ¿Participar en actividades creativas como el arte, el teatro y la música? So, do you like to work with animals, machines, and tools? Do you prefer to study and resolve problems of science and math and science problems? Do you like to participate in creative activities like in art, theater, and music? ¿Te gusta hacer cosas con otras personas? You like doing things with other people? Do you like being the leader in a group? That's letter E. ¿Te gusta trabajar con los números y máquinas de manera ordenada? Do you like to work with numbers and machines in an orderly fashion? Choose the answer that best describes you and write it underneath the heading Te gusta. ¿Prefieres cosas prácticas que se pueden tocar y ver? Do you prefer practical things that one can touch and see? Do you prefer the sciences, las ciencias? Actividades creativas, creative activities, enseñar o ayudar a otras personas, teaching or helping other people, la política y los negocios, politics and business, o el éxito en los negocios, success in business. Choose the answer that best describes you. And then finally, evita. So what do you try to avoid? Got the footnotes there at the very bottom. You, at all costs, try to avoid situaciones sociales, ser el líder, actividades repetitivas, las máquinas, los animales y las herramientas, actividades científicas o actividades desordenadas. Do you avoid at all costs social situations, being the leader, repetitive activities, machines, animals, and tools, scientific activities, or unorganized activities? Para saber la carrera más relacionada a tus gustos y intereses, revisa tus respuestas, haz la suma para ver qué letra marcaste más y compara este resultado con la siguiente información. So you guys are to know what career is most related to your likes and interests. Take a look at your responses. What letter, kind of create a tally, what letter did you choose more often or most often as opposed to the others? Si marcaste dos letras diferentes o más, puede ser que tengas aptitud para varias carreras. So if you marked a letter twice or more than once, then you're going to see the different professions that they've suggested for you, and you're going to write that answer underneath the subheading Profesiones. Si marcaste la letra A, if you answered letter A, ingeniero or arquitecto. If you answered letter A most often, then you're looking at a career perhaps in engineering or architecture. Si marcaste la letra B, científico o médico. Si marcaste la letra C, actriz o actor. Maybe an actor, actress, or designer, clothing. Si marcaste la letra D, profesor o enfermero, perhaps a professor, or a nurse. Si marcaste la letra E, vendedor o abogado, perhaps a seller, salesperson, or lawyer. Finally, letra F, contador or cajero, someone who likes working with numbers, an accountant or a cashier. All right, and that concludes the instructions for your aptitude test. Nothing you need to turn in, just for your own edification. Cool exercise to go through to kind of set the stage for perhaps what you might consider after you graduate. Reviewing the speaking questions for the final exam, we will do together, and we will do together in their entirety. I'm not going to go through them right now in this video because there's a video that's already been created. So if you're absent and you want to know what these questions are asking, how to begin your responses, what grammar and vocab I'm looking for, how much to include, some example answers, watch the video that's here to walk you through the speaking questions. And then after that, I'll give you guys the rest of the time in class to practice your speaking questions with a partner and begin your autorretrato assignment that'll be due next week. Mi autorretrato is my, what would it be? Self-portrait, yeah? Autorretrato. My self-portrait. So you're going to take everything that we've done in terms of summative assignments and put them all together in one document. I'd recommend that you hang on to this and hang on to it, especially for the beginning of next semester. In Level 3, this is going to be everything that you're going to cover, maybe not the Spanish 1 level stuff that we did at the beginning of the year, but certainly the stuff that we did in the second semester, you're going to review again at the beginning of next academic year. So there are 3 sections to this assignment, and they're essentially, 2 of the 3 sections are projects that you did earlier this year. The first section is titled ¿Quién soy yo? You may recall you did a project at the beginning of the academic year where an autobiographical presentation of who you are, 5 adjectives to describe what you're like, 5 activities to describe what you like to do in your free time. I've kind of started off these sentences for you, so you can just finish it off with the key grammar and vocab. For the third question, tu materia favorita y por qué, your favorite subject, and 1 adjective and 1 verb to describe it. Participas en un club o deporte, what clubs or sports you participate in. And then the long one's the last question, ¿Cómo es tu familia? 3 adjectives to describe your family, 3 verbs to talk about what you used to like to do together, 3 adjectives to describe 2 different family members. Then again, take a look at that project, take a look at the project description at the beginning of the academic year, and jog your memory in terms of what your responses to those questions were. And maybe they're different. Who you are now might be a lot different from who you were back in August. So maybe you want to revise a few of those things. All right, next section, ¿Cómo eras? This is the project you did relatively recently about what you were like when you were younger in elementary school. Very similar questions to these up above, just different verb tense, right? ¿Cómo eras? What were you like as a child? 5 adjectives. What did you used to like to do in your free time? 5 verbs. What used to be your favorite subject? 1 adjective, and 1 verb to describe it. Clubs and sports you used to participate in. Yo participaba, etc. And then, ¿Cómo era tu familia? Adjectives to describe your family. Verbs that you like to do, used to like to do when you were younger in your family. And then 3 adjectives to describe 2 different family members. So this should be relatively familiar for you. The final section is going to be a bit new. You're going to use the future tense, what we've been covering here for the past couple classes, and you're going to use the grammar of the future to tell me 5 things that you plan to do for after you graduate. And you can use your warm-up for today. If you remember, your warm-up question was, ¿Qué vas a hacer en 5 años? Right? You've already shared things that you intend to do in the next 5 years, so certainly you can use that for your response to this last section. ¿Cómo serás en el futuro? What will you be like in the future? Piensa en tus planes y aspiraciones para tu vida después de graduarte y escribe 5 oraciones para describirte y lo que crees que vas a hacer en el futuro. So, think of your plans and future aspirations, and after you graduate, and write 5 sentences to describe what you will be doing in the future. Very similar to what you did for your warm-up for today. Need 5 of them. They don't all need to be in the yo form. You could have some in the nosotros form as well. You could talk about another family member or group of people. If you don't want to just focus on you, that's fine. I'm just looking for 5 sentences in the future for this last section. Now, turn this in. I'm actually going to make this worth, let's see, I'm going to make this worth a little bit more, 30 points rather than 15. You'll get 10 points per section, and you're going to have an opportunity to get 50% extra credit, 50, if you elect to make this presentation. Now, I want to reiterate, you've done these first 2 sections already. You've done them as a PowerPoint, or you've done them as a video, right? At the beginning of the year, you created a presentation for this already. You should have that, you have that saved in your Canvas, if not on your computer. You have this presentation that you did about a month ago, saved somewhere on your computer in Canvas. So building upon these 2, if you want to create a comprehensive presentation about who you are, right? Who you are now, who you were as a kid, and who you aspire to be, you can submit this, not the paper, in Canvas, submit this in a presentational format. What could it look like? It could look like a PowerPoint, as you've done before. It could be a video, as many of you have done before, or all 3 sections are combined. So a combined PowerPoint or a combined video in which you cover who you are now, who you were, and who you aspire to be. How long does it need to be? Probably 15 slides, right? 5 for the first one, 5 for the second one, and I don't know, maybe one slide dedicated to each of these five statements, right? So it sounds like it's long, like, dude, 15 slides, I'm not doing that. It's not worth it. Well, again, 50% extra credit, that'll go a long way, especially for those of you that are all of a sudden wondering how you can raise your grade. With all due respect, I'd be taking advantage of this opportunity. And again, you've already done, assuming that you've been doing your work throughout the year, you already got these first 2 parts done, right? So locate them, put them together, and then build on them by coming up with responses to this section. 5 things you plan on doing in the future. And then, yeah, include some photos. You guys do a great job with this. This has been the best year for you guys taking full ownership and making it real, you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, we're talking about you, your family, your interests, who you are. So I appreciate you making it real, including images. Give me at least 1 photo, right, that is indicative of these 5 questions for those first 2 parts, and then maybe 1 image. Perhaps you don't have one already taken. You can use a generic image if you want to, of what life is going to be like for you in the future. All right, submit that in Canvas, video if you want to, PowerPoint if you want to get 50% extra credit. That's 50% extra credit on this assignment. If you just want to submit the paper version that I'm going to give you in class, that's cool too. You do you. All right, and that's the only thing that you're really going to be working on here for the rest of the week.